So we're going to add some concept of state. So we're going to keep track of TCP connections. We could conceivably even keep track of UDP, what's going on in UDP, if we already sent packets, already received packets, and so on. But the point is we have everything available to us that we had as the packet filter, but now a little bit more. We're going to keep track of state. Now, what's the downside of this?
More overhead.
Yeah. More overhead. Certainly, there's a lot more to keep track of. You're keeping track of state. Trudy could conceivably send you lots and lots of packets, and you keep track of lots and lots of stuff, and you bog down, right? And too much traffic will certainly slow you down. What's good about this? What would be the benefit of keeping track of these things?
Well, you could detect the sort of attack you just mentioned.
That's exactly right. I mean, the previous port scan, you would know when this ACK packet shows up, there's not an existing connection that it's part of, because you keep track of those things. So you would just drop it and say, that does not get through. Okay, so the advantage is, you have all the same advantages you could do with the packet filter, but you also get to keep track of state. So you get to keep track of ongoing connections. So certainly that ACK scan doesn't work. Disadvantage is simply overhead, right? You still have more overhead, and also you still don't get to see the application data. You're not looking at that, right? So it's slower. Okay. Finally, the application proxy. So a proxy is someone who acts on your behalf. So an application proxy firewall, the firewall is acting like the host, okay? It's doing everything the host would do. It's processing the packet all the way up to the application layer. It's reassembling fragments. You know, it's looking at the data itself to make sure there's no viruses, nothing bad about this before it sends it on. So from the attacker's point of view, I mean, this is a big step up, right? If you want to trick the firewall here, you really have to treat it like it's the host, right? And convince it that everything you're doing is innocent, and then get it to send your packets, your evil packets, into the host that you actually hope to infect or do something bad to. So, okay, so what's the advantages here compared to, say, a stateful packet filter?
It's able to see the data.
You can see the data. Okay, so you can look for a malicious data. So you can actually look at the application data itself. So that's good. That's a biggie. So everything you could do before, plus you get to look at the application data. Okay, what are the disadvantages? What?
It's incredibly common.
Yeah, it's much, shut the door here. So it's certainly much more overhead. You're doing a lot more. I mean, think about it. Every package you process all the way up to the application layer. Okay, you're doing a lot of work with each packet. So it'd be easy to get overwhelmed. Here's kind of a subtle point, okay, the application proxy. Each packet, it processes it all the way up to the application layer, right? So it's effectively destroyed that packet. If it decides this packet's okay to send, it creates a new packet and sends it on, okay? Keep that in mind. And the attacker has to talk to the proxy and deal with it and really convince it that everything it's doing is legitimate. Okay, here's another tool for scanning, for port scanning. This tool is a little more complicated than the simple pack scan. And this tool, this particular one is called firewalk, but there are others that do the same thing. But we'll assume here the attacker knows the IP address of the firewall and one host behind the firewall. Okay, so that's an assumption here.
I just have a question about application proxy. If there are more overheads on the application proxy, are there any attacks possible? Like the same?
Well, I mean, you can more easily overwhelm it, right? So denial of service is certainly going to be easier against this than anything else. Yeah. Hold on here. Okay, so we'll assume we're trying to do a port scan still, right? So we assume as the attacker, we know the IP address of the firewall and one host behind the firewall. We'll set the time to live to one more than the number of hops to the firewall. Okay, that's easy. We can calculate all this stuff. We can create such bogus packets. Now we'll try different ports, right? And if the firewall lets a packet through on a particular port, you'll see. Let's look at the next slide. It's easier to see the picture. Okay, so here's the idea. Trudy knows that the packet filter here is 1, 2, 3 hops away, right? So she sets the, she knows the firewall there is 3 hops away. So she sets the time to live, she makes up a bogus packet, sets the time to live equal to 4, okay? Now what happens when she tries different port numbers? So on this particular port number, it gets there, the firewall's filtering that port, not letting it through, no response. Tries another one, no response. But suppose it's actually letting packets through, right? Okay, on this particular port. Well, when it gets to this point, what's the TTL? It's 1, right? So it's 3, 2, 1. When the packet gets here, what's going to happen? TTL gets to be 0, packet's dead. When the packet dies, the router sends a time exceeded error message back, okay? So that's very nice from Trudy's perspective. She will see time exceeded. That will tell her that port is open on the firewall. Okay, so a little more complicated. And this will even work against an application proxy, because you are actually, I mean, this will even work, I should say, against a stateful packet filter, right? Because you're not violating the protocol. You're following the protocol. You're trying to initiate a connection. You send this, set the SYN bit. You do everything correct, right? It's just you fooled with the time to live is really the only thing you did here. Okay, but this will not work for an application proxy. Why not?
Oh, because it regenerates the packet.
Bingo. Okay, it regenerates the packet. Why does that make this fail?
It reduces all the detail.
Right, okay, because if this was an application proxy, it processes all the way up, everything looks fine, it creates a new packet. That new packet has a default TTL of something like 255. So, you know, who knows? At least this part will not work as it's diagrammed here.